We'll start by introducing yourself. Tell us how long you've been kayak fishing and why you decided to start your trail.
So I'm Ari Stonehill, and had to look this up, and I looked it up on TurdyX actually, but my first tournament kayak fishing was with MAKB on Oldham Pond on September 26, 2017. And it was fun looking it up because I remember the tournament distinctly, being super psyched. And, these guys have been fishing for a few years together, but it was one of the only games in town. There was one other trail that I was not going to fish. And I met Ken and, we launched. And about an hour into it, I got my first bass, which was a 17.75-inch bass. And I was like, let's go, right? Game on. Only bass I caught. And Oldham Pond's a great pond. Only bass I caught all day, the rest of the day. I did get a state pin crappie, though, out of that pond that day. And, yeah, I remember, and then we got back to the ramp, and I was like, oh, man, good day, whatever. And then, boom, everyone's like, bye, see ya, and then split. It was like everyone just left. I'm like, wait, what? Anyway, that's how long I've been around.
Yeah, so I started right about that same time. I never went to look it up, but I think I started at the end of 2016. Might have been one of the last tournaments that MACB had. And if I'm correct, that was at Lake Rico. And for those of us that know Lake Rico, it's a dink fest kind of pond. And I felt pretty good because I caught, I don't know, 150 fish, something like that. But then I found out everybody caught a whole bunch too. The interesting thing for me when I first started was this was my first exposure to bass fishing. Done as a child and in my youth, I'd done a lot of saltwater fishing. Did a little bit of trout fishing in college with a buddy, but never really went after bass as a species. So it was fun. That first tournament, I didn't know what a bait caster looked like. So all my rigs were spinning rigs, and my go-to bait was a daredevil, and that's what I caught all my bass on that day. So there you have it.
So tell us why you decided to start your trail, Commonwealth Bass Anglers Kayak Series. By the way, I love the t-shirts you have on.
Yeah, I had these done for the directors because I wanted to give a little something back with all the time we've been putting into these guys.
So Ari, I'm
Thank you.
going to jump in real quick, not to
Yeah.
take your thunder, but since Jason mentioned the t-shirts, these are the shirts that we're going to be using for the trail. So I think they came out pretty cool, and they're up and ready, and people can order them now. So
Great
Call that
colors.
a labor of love? Maybe.
yeah, that well, yeah, you can talk about that when you discuss all the ins and outs of running a trail. But anyway, go ahead.
Man, yeah, no, thank you. The why? So I think obviously the community that we're in, right? It's a great community, and I think everybody was pretty stunned. MAKB was wrapping up and folding after a great 10-year run. I remember hearing it as being a possibility weeks beforehand, but I didn't believe it was going to happen. I just like, no way, that can't. And it did. Panic sets in, and Gerard and I talk all the time, and we conversed and talked, and we're like, what are we going to do? And at the time, Torrance was pretty quick. He came out with announcing that he was doing what he's doing in general. Like, I don't know, early on, he didn't have all the details, but the main issue was that no forward facing, which I totally respect and get. And I look forward to fishing his trail at least a couple of times. When he said that, I'm like, well, Mass Bass hadn't come around yet. We weren't sure what that was. I didn't know really anything about Ben's Tackle Shack's trail because I didn't know about them as far as what they do and how they do it. So Gerard and I spoke at length about what we could do. And I'm like, well, maybe we can, finally do something here and maybe take up the reins, not having a clue about any of it, like how to do it or what. I mean, we had some general idea. And I think, how long was it, Gerard, before I said, all right, I'm going to do it? Was it?
So Ari said, yeah, he's gonna think about it over the winter, and he'll make a decision sometime. And then I think about 20 minutes later, he called back and said, yep, I'm in. I'm doing it. We're gonna do it, and you're gonna help.
You're gonna help. Gerard is my first board member. Yeah, that was about it. And again, not having a clue how this was going to run. And you and I spoke actually, Jason, about New Hampshire bass, right? That was the only we knew that was happening. You were involved, obviously, with them, and but you weren't sure what was going on either about whatever in Mass and other. Anyway, so yeah, and then we rounded up the the team, so to speak, with some buddies of ours, and everybody knows these guys probably at one point or another. You've crossed paths, but I made some calls and brought in Jim Silva is on the board, and mainly he's the chief of comedy, I think is his designated role, and creative design side of things. And Kevin Amaro, was also brought on board. I knew I wanted him to be involved because of his experience with MAKB and the pros and cons of how to do certain things, whatever. And then I needed a youngster on the team, so I brought in Jeff Lynn and called on him. And I don't know how many people really know Jeff well, but he comes from the boating side, having done Bass Federation or not Mass Bass, but bass events in the boat. But then he's done he's a juggernaut fisherman too.
Great dude.
Yeah, great guy. And called on Jeff, and I said, look, would you be involved? He said, well, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be doing the kayak thing. I might get back in the boat. Anyway, he agreed to come on board because he's going to, fish this year in a kayak for sure. And and then we had started having meetings, and just started brainstorming sort of what Gerard and I talked about the basis of what we wanted to do, and off we were. So that was it. Just to effectively replace MAKB to some extent and keep that vibe going and the camaraderie going and sort of the template. Keep it the same. Again, respecting Torrance. I paid a lot of money for my forward facing. I think I figured some things out with it, and I want to be able to use it. So that was another thing that factored into the starting of this trail. So,
is there anything that sets your trail apart from the other three?
Sets us apart. From what I know, there's maybe there's a bunch of things, but they're kind of minor in general. But we're start off with 20 anglers as the limit, but we're actually going to 25. Well, if that hasn't been clarified, we will. We quickly realized we should probably bump it to 25. Again, most of MAKB's rules are going to be followed in the way it was run. Obviously 5 fish limits, but we are going to a 10-inch minimum instead of an 8-inch. Early on, I had heard of sort of judging controversies, not that we're going to avoid those, but early on, I wanted to try to avoid that. I was in touch with someone I knew who had been able to do independent judging, and they put me in touch with someone else who does judging out of state. We brought them and we talked to them and figured out the cost that would be to have her on board as an independent judge to judge our events. And the judge will be involved with all events where there's at least 15 or more anglers. If there's less than that, then we probably will have a member of the directorship because cost benefit is just not there. And so anyway, that's one big difference. And then the other thing was I paid a lot of money for everything on my kayak, and I've got 2 motors. Every other trail doesn't allow it. Well, we are. If you got 2 motors, have at it. So you can cruise around and have spot lock, whatever. I don't know. I felt that you spend a lot of money on setting yourself up, so why not have a chance to use it? And that's the other big difference is I think you are allowed to have 2 motors, electric motors, same kind of parameters. But if you got a Torqeedo and an XI3 on the bow, something off the stern, you can use them. And I know Mass Bass will do this. I think and New Hampshire Bass did it, but they did have a waiver that everyone's going to have to sign. I haven't designed one yet, but my attorney brother-in-law is working on it. But we will have a liability waiver. And actually behind the scenes, just full disclosure, I'm forming an LLC to run this trail for my own liability protection, but there's a big upfront cost and annual cost to have that be part of this whole plan every year. And so I just felt like I got to do it to be doing it right. And I didn't want any issues with money. There's going to be a lot of money, flowing through an account. And I don't want to have that mess up anything in my own personal tax situation. So that's why we're going to do it. But yeah, the liability waiver will be something we're going to do.
Do you plan on having a W-2 form?
Yes, I do. But I'm not going to require everyone to technically sign it up front. I think it's just going to be issued if you actually land in the money. And the rule on having a 1099 issued is, I believe, a $600 limit. So if you earn over $600 in a calendar year, then the source you're getting that from is obligated to issue a 1099 and file one. So that'll be sort of the cutoff. I'll just keep track of that. And those who need to have a 1099 filed, it'll be something they're going to have to do. I haven't thought through all that. It may be something up front. It may be something that's as needed. So there you go on that. The only other thing otherwise differences with us is we are having these regular season tournaments, right? We're going to have 6 regular season tournaments. You've seen the schedule. I finally posted it the other day. And we're going to have some fun tournaments as well. And originally we thought we wanted to have this in order for this to work and not have it cost me too much. And also from a participation standpoint, we wanted to have this be as successful as possible. We wanted to have everyone fish every event, right? Witness where some people, if they do well in one or two tournaments, get a ticket to a championship, and that kind of didn't set right with me when that's possible. So we wanted to avoid that kind of thing happening. So originally we thought of 6 tournaments. Everyone's got to fish all 6 will count towards your qualification for tournament champion and the Angler of the Year. But then some ideas were floated out recently by the board, which we're going to adopt, and this hasn't been announced yet. But these fun tournaments we're doing, right? The Thursday night throwdowns and the fun day on Pawtuckaway, the frog only tournament we're going to host. We're going to host another one that's going to be a catch 'em all brawl. Those tournaments, 2 of those can count towards your qualification for the championship and the tournament championship and Angler of the Year, if you've missed at least one tournament. So if you can only make 5 regular season tournaments, then if you fish 2 of these other fun tournaments, those 2 can add points towards your qualification. And it's just an adjustment in the points. So regular season, we'll get into this a little bit, but regular MACB is 400 points for every tournament. For those one-offs, those are 200 points with a 4-point decremental. So 2 will count as 1 regular season tournament, basically. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, but we'll clarify that in a post soon.
That'll give someone an opportunity, if they've got a birthday or a wedding or something comes up and they absolutely can't make the tournament through no fault of their own. At least it doesn't penalize them by having them only be able to count 5 tournaments.
We also wanted to help promote and have good attendance at those other tournaments too, right? And that's where we think, like Mass Bass, we know that our Nipanicket tournament conflicts with your championship or the Mass Bass Championship in Connecticut, the Connecticut River. So we know there's going to be some people who can't make, right? They're going to go to the championship if they qualify. So that's one of those that might be built-in conflicts that we wanted to help people out, still not get crushed because of that, right? And their chances here with us. Some other different, and again, I'm not sure what's going on with everybody else and what they're doing, but we've put forth a lot of effort as a club to also have the pieces in place. Like Gerard is behind getting a banner done. So we're going to have a 4-foot banner that we're going to have at every tournament that will take a photo at the end of the tournament, with everybody who's still there. I contacted Blue Fox and got a tin tag design done so that if anyone wants a tin tag, they're going to be able to order one for our trail. Obviously, as Gerard pointed out earlier, we've got the jerseys, right? So we had those designed. That was a fun design process to help figure that out. And God bless Mark Glover and his patience with me. It was painful, I'm sure, for him to deal with it. But yeah, we got it done, so it's good. The other couple of things I'll just say, the 2 other things is we're probably going to be having what's called a 50-50 raffle at every tournament. So those who want to participate in a little fundraiser for the club, but also have a chance to win a little cash at the tournament, we'll do a 50-50 raffle. I think that was Kevin Amaril's idea, which we appreciate. And then we're also considering building in an hourly big bass on occasion as an optional buy-in. And that we figured, if you're one of these anglers like me, I'm a middle of the pack guy. I'll occasionally do well, but it's kind of more rare than not. I'm a middle of the pack guy. And so with an hourly big bass, if you want to opt into that for, call it $10 or something like that, you got a shot at actually taking away a little bit of money if you get that big bass and that hourly thing. And we're still sorting through the details on that, but that was floated out as an idea too, that we think would be pretty cool to give everybody a chance to kind of come away with a little something, right? And then lastly, the other thing is we are definitely, I'm sure the other trails have announced this too, we've worked hard to work with our sponsors to have swag bags, right? Have the giveaways at every tournament. It won't be random. It will be at every tournament. We're going to have all the supplies ahead of time, and we'll have those giveaways after the tournament's over for some of our sponsors to have some stuff to be able to have people get for free. Okay. I babbled long enough, but that's, I think, the core differences that I wanted to say.
Ari,
It's not babbling. It's information.
All right.
So, Ari, you want to touch upon our ruling on the open mouth, which is a little bit different than what's been done in the past?
Yeah. So, and this, we spoke directly with Ken, actually, in particular, because of his experience running a trail for 10 years. But we settled on the fact that we just feel like I didn't want to have some random quarter-inch, thing that someone would have to kind of judge. So we're going to have closed mouths for all bass. Otherwise, I believe it's a half-inch deduction. If it's egregious, the fish will get disqualified, but closed mouth, right? And no hands or butts. That's what I'll say about that. Closed mouth, period. If the fish has a totally jacked up mouth and it's absolutely impossible to close it, there may be an out there, we'll clarify this in the rules, where if you video definitive proof with your hand on the fish trying to close it and you can't, separate from the picture, that might be an out. I can't remember if we decided on that, Gerard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah, still an
closed
open.
mouth is the key. Yeah, you really would have to find definitive proof, video footage that it was a closed mouth, as best as biologically that was able to be proved. Yeah. I'll be honest, I mean, Ken, he was the one who was arguing against having closed mouth with me. And he gave me examples of one fish that was a jacked up mouth that couldn't close, that was closed. And, he's like, you're going to run it? I'm like, well, I know we're going to run into that, but we're also going to run into, well, it wasn't a quarter inch. It was, an eighth of an inch. Well, I don't want to have those. I'd like to try to not have as much. We're going to have controversies, but we want to try to limit it. So,
Of course.
yeah.
Anytime money's involved, somebody's going to have a complaint.
Jason, if you got time for one more thing I'd
Sure.
like to mention, at the end of the tournaments, as was the case in the old MACB days, everyone used to gather and people would stay for an hour or so, picture taken. I already mentioned we're going to have a banner and lots of swag for everybody, so hopefully people will stick around. The other thing that we're going to do is have a foam board with the information on the tournament and the date and people and the money. Maybe it's the top 3, maybe it's the top 5. Still working on that, but they'll get their picture taken and that'll be posted, holding it. Right, exactly. So just something else for them to take home on the day. They won't be able to take the board with them. It's going to be used, but at least they'll have the photo and we're going to be able to digitally insert the name. Jim Silver's going to be taking care of that for us.
By the way, I don't know how many of you have your own bobble doll. My kids, this is my shirt, one of my fishing shirts, and on the bottom says, our favorite angler. And this was one of my Father's Day gifts for my kids. How freaking awesome is that?
That's a hoot.
Anyway.
That's wild.
Yeah, sorry.
The other thing that we're going to do that I don't think anyone has done is, and we've already started the process, so if people are out there listening to this, pay attention for a moment. We're going to have one of the team members, Jim Silver, take a compilation of videos or photos that people want to submit to him at each event. And he's going to be able to put something together. And when Ari does his write-up for the event, there'll be that little video showing different catches or whatever people want to show. We're also going to have that for and Ari can get into this a little bit later. We're going to have a preseason get together, and we're going to have something that people can watch during the gathering that we have. So,
was there anything to the waters that you chose for your events? Was there any rhyme or reason, or was it like just geographically?
I'll say the way Ken did it originally, and for some of the divisions did it. And that was, normally they would ask the group, right? Where do you want to fish? And do a poll, which I totally appreciated, by the way. But this first season, of course, you just got to pick spots. The combination of places I've liked to fish, but also availability. When we first started looking at permitting, I was stunned to see how many places were booked already, like South Watupa and some of the Cape ponds and whatnot, Mashpee, Wakeby, and all those. Like some of the juggernaut places, were already booked. So that also factored in. In fact, I made a spreadsheet, actually a list of, okay, what's taken and what's actually available for the dates so that was one issue. And the second issue tied into that was what was already known from Torrance's announcement. And I knew from New Hampshire Bass what the 3 lakes you guys already locked down, what those were and the dates, which is why we moved our first one to May 2nd, because we didn't want to step on the April 25th date. So anyway, that's what went into it, was just, I figured geographically a little bit of a spread out. Obviously, we weren't going too far west because of travel and our directorship here. I wanted to make sure it was within reason for at least one of us to, of course, be at every event. So that's why we didn't mean to exclude the west or far central west, or north for that matter. But that's why we went central and sort of east, kind of like MAKB's original central east region that'll be there. So we'll see about that.
Are you guys planning on having an AOI or a Rookie of the Year award?
We're going to have an AOI for sure. In fact, one surprise you'll see at the preseason luncheon, is the winner of the AOI is going to a very special trophy that we've got lined up that I won't say anything about right now. Gerard's not thrilled with it, but everybody else is. So that's fine because he won't win Angler of the Year anyway. That's for you, Bruce Levy. And it could be him if he comes out of the woodwork. Yes, Angler of the Year. Rookie of the Year, no, because this is the first season. Maybe next year we can start to track who was already with us the first year. And I think it's natural to say, the second season, now you know who's new. And it's a good idea. I like the idea because I love encouraging new members. I love encouraging new fishermen. We really wanted to design this trail that actually reward as many people as we could. Thus the 50-50 raffle bass per hour kind of idea. And a Rookie of the Year is a way to do that. We might include first-timers with us who also might be first-timers with MAKB or any kind of kayak fishing from this year. Could be involved maybe next year in the pool of people who could win Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't exclude them just because it's our first year. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a good idea, but no, not for the first year.
Yeah, I think all the trails are struggling with the AO Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah, it's a first year for all of us, right? Bottom line. So
yeah, I think you had the best idea right there, where you just said if if like you got a carryover and they didn't fish with MAKB last year, they could be angler, because I'm sure there's every year you get new anglers. Every year there's new people that are joining.
Right. Bottom line.
All right. So tell us what the most difficult thing is about creating a trail and running it so far. What's the most difficult thing?
Everything.
Yeah. Gerard, why don't you start off with this? What have you seen from the difficulties from your point of view, given that I'm the chief pain in the ass to all our board directors as we've sorted through what we got to sort through?
Well, I think let me start with the good news is, and that is that I always put together a great staff of directors. We're all a little bit different, from young to old, from experience to no experience, to people that have technology skills to those of us that don't. And everyone seems to be level-headed. Everyone seems to be willing to submit ideas, understanding that some may be accepted, some may not be accepted. There's good debate among the group, and we all seem to, at least so far, have been able to settle in on resolutions to whatever the issue is. The difficult thing, I would imagine, and I did not participate in this, and I purposely didn't want to, just because I knew it was going to be a pain in the neck, and that is selecting the lakes and then going out and making sure that they were available on the dates, especially keeping in mind that we didn't want to have conflicts for lots of different reasons with the other local and other New England trails that were out there. So I would imagine that gave Ari a bit of a headache as he went through that. I think it's just, from my perspective, it's a lot of work, not for me personally. Again, I think the majority of this fell on Ari's shoulders, and I've told him a couple of times. I don't know how he pulled it all together so quickly as he did, but it's time consuming. If you're going to take care of all the important stuff and do it right, it's just very time consuming. It isn't something you can do at the spur of the moment. Just put it all together and go fishing and have a good time.
Yeah.
So that would be my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, spot on. I think, we, Gerard and I, actually the entire board, have fished many different trails, right? MAKB, the spinoff of EKF, the regional one, which we all had so much fun with. KBF originally was always partnered, but we all did some of KBF stuff early on years ago, if not throughout. I did at least one Hobie Boss tournament up on Winnipesaukee and saw how they did things. And New Hampshire Bass last couple of years, we Gerard and I did some of those tournaments up there last year, and then I did some the year before. It was great to see what each of these trails did. And so I think my goal was always to set out to sort of take the best of all of that and try to incorporate as much of it as we could into this trail. And, we got lucky. My daughter, God bless her soul, my daughter Shira, she's an artist, K through 8 elementary school art teacher, but she helped us start up this thing. And then Glover of Glover Designs, Mark Glover, helped finalize it. But this was a major pain in the ass, I'll tell you that much. The little things like that, which were unexpectedly time consuming and frustrating to some extent, but also incredibly fun and rewarding at the end, were a big part of it. But yeah, permitting, scheduling, the design, the Facebook page. I've never done a Facebook page. If you haven't done one, a group page, oh God, it's, there's things you got to know about how to do that. And the only thing I can add to it is sponsors. One thing we want to do is really have a good amount of sponsors that would actually give us stuff and not just a discount code, but hopefully give us stuff that would be fun to have the guys have some kind of reward at the ramp, as well as in the TOC. And that was an expected, but not an expectedly uneasy kind of task, right? And so we'll see. Hopefully, we can keep them happy and keep that going for the future. Because we're certainly not in it for one year and done, and we're also not in it for profit. By the way, full disclosure, we are not in it to run a trail and have some money end up in our pockets or my pocket or anything. Everything we have, if we have any revenue that comes in, is going right into really the banquet at the season-ending banquet is the first-year goal. Whatever we have will go into that to have not have just it might be a potluck. It very well could be. There could be a fee at that thing. Who knows? We'll see how the tournament goes. But our goal is hopefully we have enough participation where we can fund it all out of the way we're running things, So just wanted to say that as well. And then we'll see how things go for next year and what we'll do.
On that point, let me just add that we're not charging a membership fee. You have to, in order to fish the events, you have to join the club, but there's no membership fee. Next year, maybe that changes. I think it wouldn't be a whole lot of money, but it would certainly help to defray some of the.
So
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
now that we're talking about the future, tell us what success looks like for you moving forward.
Gerard and I actually spoke about this recently, like what our anticipation is of what we envision what that might look like. I think that, thinking back 7 years ago, and 6 years ago and 5 years ago, right? The reason why MAKB evolved into EKF was because there was a groundswell of camaraderie that was built around the community from these events, that the friendships, the fun we had, the hanging out at the ramp before and after tournaments. And that's one thing. We want, of course, sold out tournaments. That's paramount for participation to be strong, but also just a continuation of that camaraderie, I think, and having fun together, right? And to be able to, that's a big part of it, right? None of us are in this to have a second income that's going to support our families. I mean, some might, don't get me wrong. I mean, it can happen.
That are trying.
There are definitely some who not only try, but can. But I'm just saying, the vast majority is in it for the fun competition and, the friendly competition and the camaraderie and the community, I don't know if Gerard wants to add anything to that, but that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what tells me if this is a success at the beginning and throughout the course of the year. There was a time back years ago when MACB was just the Eastern Division. We didn't have the 4 divisions. And at 7:00 on Sunday night, we had set our alarms and we were all sitting on the edge of our seat to make sure that we could sign in, because at 7:01 it was booked. The tournament was booked, and you were on the wait list if you didn't hit that, do that process quickly enough. So I'm going to be anxiously looking, especially at the first tournament, but certainly those throughout the year, to see how quickly we sell out. I'm confident we will, and to see if that continues throughout the course of the year. If we do, then that to me says it's successful. People liked it, they enjoyed it, and they kept at it throughout the season.
Is there any spots on the trail that you're most excited about?
Good question.
I like Snippet to It because I've won a tournament on Snippet to It.
It has won a tournament.
I almost won a second one on Snippet to It. Yeah,
Great Lake, man. A lot of great quality fish.
Yeah. By the way, I also caught my first Massachusetts 20-inch bass on Snippet to It.
Where was that again? That was near Bruce's spot.
Bruce's spots, right?
Bruce's does very well Snippet to It.
Yeah.
As does Ken and others. I mean, many others do. I'm looking through our list here.
Who doesn't like A1? I mean, A1's
we got a lot of A1 events. We got a lot of A1 events. And by the way, the A1 events, if anyone's curious, the reason why we have so many A1 events, because we have the one regular trail event starting off our tour, our schedule. But we have some one-off events. We're doing a frog tournament on A1, and we're doing a catch-em-all brawl on A1, different times a year. The reason for that is because when we did the frog thing that Jeff came up with, he wanted to do a frog tournament. He chose the first date and then pivoted to a different date that he could do that was better because of family issues. But I already put in the permit. So we got the permit for both dates on those, and that's why we have an extra 2 A1 tournaments. I'd say, look, I like Singletary, to be honest with you. I haven't fished a ton, but I like the fact that as a Central Mass tournament lake, it's got a variety. You got rocks, you got depth, you got weeds, you got shallow, and it's decent size. I haven't caught massive bass there, but it's kind of a fun place to fish. I did catch a good trout there one year, in one of our tournaments. But I'd say I'm kind of looking for, that's why Singletary made the list for me, I guess. Like I said, I don't fish it a lot, but yeah.
Charles River's always a fan favorite too. That's nice because you can, especially with the boundaries being so big, what is it, 60 miles worth of boundaries, you can fish anywhere from the Esplanade down to Milford and Midway and
Yeah.
different
Not
fisheries all along the way. Except for
not with
some people who
Torrance's.
only fish Purgatory Cove and nowhere else,
Hey, that's my spot. I love that section of the Charles.
I fished it once when MAKB had a co-event with KBF. It was a regional trail event for KBF, and we did it. Good turnout, too. Ken did a great job with getting a lot of people.
I think you have 58 or 59 people.
Yeah, and I fished Purgatory. I pre-fished, did great. Then, as you may recall, the big rain came in, and Purgatory turned into a pea soup junk place. And that was probably the first time, I didn't know it at the time, but catfish were jumping, and I didn't know they were catfish, so I was freaking out. I'm like, there's another big bass. There's another big bass. Of course, they're all catfish. What did I know? But I did very poorly, relatively speaking, that day in Purgatory. Good spot. Yeah, Charles River is on the docket, a location, Word Ave, Waltham's not far from where I live, and I fished that area quite a bit. And I think we chose a good date for that one because in July,
July 18th.
yeah, July 18th, it'll be not too late in the summer, but the pads will come in nicely there. So depending on where you're fishing, it should be, even though it's summertime, it shouldn't be too deep into it. It should be pretty good. That
I
also
definitely
factored into the choices of where we're fishing is, of course, time of year.
Yeah, I definitely plan on fishing every single Charles River event in
Yeah.
the state that they have. I don't know, it's just something about it. I grew up in the city. I love that urban environment. It just feels like even though you're in the city, still can tune it out and you still feel like you're secluded.
Yeah.
Just
So
something
the
about
recreational kayakers come along.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna give a shout out to Lifetime, one of our sponsors, by the way, and I'll do it right now because this is perfect. The Charles River event last year for MAKB was for North was the first event of the Northern Division,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it was the Boston section. For whatever reason, that was the section that they chose from Brighton all the way to Boston, Science Museum, basically. And I pre-fished it to test my motor. I had an XI3. I have an XI3. As well as an NK 180 Pro on my either or. But I brought both out there to see how much my 100 amp battery would last with my XI3 to go all the way down. And I did in practice just to see. And that's when I knew I needed an extra battery because I wasn't going to be able to make it all the way back if not for my NK as an alternative motor in practice. And so I bought a Lifetime Mini. It's a tiny little 100 amp battery, which is amazing. It's a Bluetooth battery. It's pretty cool. They got their own little app, which I brought on board for when we did the tournament. And I fished Boston. I did not great. It was a brutal day. I mean, you might remember it was cold and rainy and windy. And so I fished downtown and then making it back, though, I only had like 30% battery or 25% battery left in my other amp battery. So I was able to swap out my Lifetime as an extra battery to easily carry on board because it's so lightweight and small. Storage was easy. And I swapped it out before I cruised back. And who do we come upon? Valver Santos and I, after a tournament, were cruising back together. And we come upon Torrance paddling his battleship because his battery died. And we come cruising up behind him. And by the way, I mean, Valver's not shy about this, but he's a Lifetime guy. He's sponsored by Lifetime, actually. And we towed him back to shore. He actually admitted he might have slept on his kayak that night because it was a good 2 or 3 miles before we had to go. And if not for our joint Lifetime batteries, we towed him back to shore, him and his barge and all three of us. It was pretty cool. So shout out to Lifetime.
So let's talk about your sponsors. Who's helping you put everything together this year on the corporate side?
Thank you. So, yeah. So I will give a shout out to our very first sponsor, who was actually one who nobody's probably heard of, and that's Big Paulie's Beef Jerky. Paul is the owner of Beef Paulie's, a central New York, Rochester guy, actually, where I'm from, Rochester, New York. And his wife, Erica, I went to high school with. I grew up with her. We met, and they fish as well. They fish the St. Lawrence. They just fun fish. And so they've followed me in some of my posts about my own fishing journey. And they've always, we've just had something to talk about. So Paul formed the Beef Jerky Company Anyway, so he's on board. I talked to them. I saw them last fall, late in the fall, when they came to New Hampshire to visit, camp out, and I saw them for a night, and they were like, "Yeah, we want to sponsor you," just as an angler. I was like, "Sponsor? Like, who am I?" I'm like, we want to sponsor you. What up? That'd be so cool. You'd be our first angler we're going to sponsor. So when we did this whole thing, I called them back. I'm like, "You're not going to believe this, guys, but guess what? You got a chance. Would you do it?" They're like, "Yeah." And by the way, the beef jerky's great. Who doesn't love beef jerky on the water? So we're going to have bags of jerky that we're going to give off at every tournament, and we got a nice discount code from them. And I think my next call was to Mountain Road, having worked with them directly, and Troy. I bought my U10 from him and my NK, and I called on him, given his, again, relationship with MAKB last year. I said, "Would you consider doing something with us?" And he didn't hesitate, of course. He came on board immediately, and he gets a little bit of a bigger spot on our jersey just because he also agreed to give us a little bit of money extra for the, doesn't cover everything, but it helps for the preseason banquet, which I appreciated. So we got Mountain Road Trading Post with some great gift cards. Lead-free jigs was probably the next one that came on board. And Gerard, you brought on lead-free, did you not?
I did, yeah. Ken McKee. He's up
Yeah.
in Stoughton, Mass. I think everybody knows him. And he's got a nice little business. So anyone looking for a lead alternative, especially these days with the skyrocketing price of tungsten, he makes some nice jigs, and I've used them, and I've dressed them up for my own use. So yeah, he's a good sponsor. He's going to give us a discount, and he's also going to give us a package of I think probably 3 or 4 jigs that we can give away at each event. So
Yeah,
he's been
which is
very
awesome.
supportive right away.
I met him at the expo this past weekend. What a great guy. Good team too. Met his other guys too. Then the others were rounding out that it was Gerard also landed Riverview. So we've got technically three different bait shops kind of, but we've got them regionally. So we've got the Cape with Riverview, and Gerard, why don't you talk about Riverview representing the Cape in particular?
Sure. So Riverview was a bait and tackle store. They're in South Yarmouth on Route 28. They've been there for 50 or 60 years. And I was first introduced to them when I started getting into kayak fishing. And a couple of the guys in the shop are really good fishermen, and they were very helpful to me. Recently went an ownership change. So the new owner, I approached him, and he was very supportive, and he's going to give us $50 gift certificates that we can give away at each event. So anybody fishing the Cape, they're centrally located. We thought it'd be a nice opportunity for them, and certainly one for the trail as well.
Yeah.
So
There's an outside chance we might co-host an event with them on the Cape. We haven't planned that or thought we might be able to organize something with them, at least to show up with, at the ramp, possibly. But yeah, super psyched Riverview came on board. So
yeah.
Thanks to Gerard. Rogue Fishing came on board. Everyone knows Rogue. They were more than willing to help us out, and so we're gonna have some Rogue Fishing gear giving away at every single event. Forget how many, but they're going to be shipping me some stuff at a discount code available for Rogue. And I've got a lot of their tethers myself, and I know there's a couple things I still want to buy from them, so I'm excited about that. And then Ben's Tackle Shack, of course, came on board, even though they've got their own trail. Amazingly, Dan was more than willing to come on board as a sponsor as well with a discount code. So we got Central Mass and Massachusetts in general also represented there with Ben's Tackle Shack and a nice discount code. Finally, the longest one, the hardest one to kind of land was Lifetime. So getting a good battery company who we believed in on board was really important. Thankfully, they came around, and we worked out a deal where they're able to provide a 100 amp battery for our tournament champions, and then a discount code that'll kickstart April 1st. Right now, we posted something about this. I'm not sure if it's still open, but if you want to get into post a free video, just a fun fishing video, you can get a 12% discount code immediately. So check out our post about that on our Facebook page. And then they're going to have some hats and shirts and stuff they're going to also give us that we can give away at the ramps. Shout out to Lifetime.
Great. How about the socials? Where can people find you and all the information regarding your events?
So we're capped out with just dealing with the Facebook page, and it's a private group, so it's not public. I didn't want to have any of the crazies come out of the woodwork and have unknown people be chatting in on our stuff. That kind of hurts us from a publicity standpoint and from a sponsorship exposure. So one thing we would ask any member is, to the extent you use any of our sponsor stuff and you post your own online videos, hashtag the heck out of these people and let me know so I can at least report back and make sure they see it. But basically, it's Facebook, the group page for CBAKS, and that's it. But we're not doing a web page. We're not doing anything like that yet. Let's get our first year under our belts and we'll see how we go. We probably will do a web page later, but I'll need some help with that for sure.
So just something I've been asking everybody and the directors, just in case somebody's new trying to come on board. What's some advice that you would give to a new angler that might be looking to join a competitive kayak trail?
I'll defer to ask Gerard to chime in on this, but my comments would be just choose a tournament that you feel like you like the body of water and get involved. Give it a go. That's number one. And then don't be shy. Reach out to any of our directors. Don't be shy. We're all good guys. We're happy to help. And also, when you're at the ramp at a tournament for the first time, engage, right? We've got a great community, and I think that anyone who's new to it, you're going to get a lot of help. Just ask and introduce yourself if you're not being, no one's coming up to you directly, although I do hope to make that a point of my meeting anyone who's new. But if not, we're all here to help each other, bottom line. Gerard, do you have any?
Just one comment, and I'm going to borrow from something Ken used to say all the time. Please read the rules. It would save a lot of angst and trouble. You're more than welcome to ask questions, but please read the rules.
Yeah.
Stop there, find out what it's all about there. If you have any questions about them after the fact, then come to people.
Yeah. Yep. And practice with the photos, practice using the app. We're going to set up an app on Fishing Chaos, a test tournament. Use it, sign into it. That's the only membership that'll be required. There won't be cost, but you will have to become a member of the Fishing Chaos group page that we're going to have as far as the club goes, a club page or whatever. And that will allow you to participate with our tournaments, of course. And yeah, get used to taking pictures the right way. And in particular, that's really one of the most important things, as well as the other rules. But yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to add before I close it up?
I think we covered a lot of things. I'm looking at my notes here.
And while you're looking, I would just say, we welcome everybody to come and join the trail. It's going to be a fun trail. It's still going to be competitive. For those that are really hyper competitive, that's fine. But for those that want to just come out and fish or take a nap on the water like I do occasionally, you can do that as well. I think it's going to be a great trail. I really do. And we certainly would encourage you to, everybody within earshot, to come and join us and have a good time.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I just wanted to thank you guys for joining me in this interview and giving us all the behind the scenes of what you're doing for the future of competitive kayak fishing in the States. So I really appreciate this interview.
Well, thank you for doing what you're doing too, by the way, Jason. Great idea. I think this is going to work out real well for you as well. And I'm sure you'll get lots of views, and it sounds great as far as your vision of what you're going to do here with this podcast and these types of follow-ups and everything. We're looking forward to seeing how it goes. I'll be tuning in for sure.
Anything to bring light to the sport, to what it's all about.
You asked about what else to talk about, and Gerard mentioned it earlier, but March 28th is our kickoff banquet, the preseason banquet. It's going to be in Northborough, and the event's posted on our Facebook page, and we're really hoping as many of you guys can attend, even if you're thinking about fishing with us, just to kind of meet everybody. But also, we're going to try to get some of our sponsors at the event, have a table, and sort of get to meet them, these small business owners who are trying to make their living serving our community. And it's going to be fun. There's no cost to it. Cash bar, of course, for soft drinks and beer or whatever. But we're going to provide the food from a local restaurant, and should be a fun time. We'll have our trophies in-house. Anyone who's ordered a jersey for our group by February 15th, I think, we'll have them there to hand out. And plus, Jim Silva will be putting together a little bit of a video montage from previous years' happenings amongst our community. So it should be fun. And we're hoping as many of you can attend as possible.
I'll be there. If you guys need help volunteering, setting up, let me know. I'll definitely come early and help.
Thank you. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up if you guys got nothing else.
No, good. Tight lines, everybody.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All
See
right.
ya.